99X in the Morning X, Barnes and Leslie. If you, like me, are a fan of true crime, this voice is so recognizable to you.
It was nearly 2 in the morning. Terrified residents of the Leafy complex were ducking behind their windows and calling 911. The couple had been murdered together in a hail of bullets right in front of their home. How many shots fired?
Close to 25 shots, 2 different types of ammunition.
2 shooters, a team of assassins.
99X, it's Barnes and Leslie on the Morning X. There's one thing that is absolutely true. If you ever see one of the 4 hosts from Dateline coming your way, it's never good.
No.
Maybe
it's not. Yeah, we're not there to hand you the key to the city.
No. Please welcome Josh Mankiewicz. And the cadence of your voice, even. If I heard you calling me, I'd be, oh no. What's happening?
No, can't. Get my attorney. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm great. Great to see you guys.
Man, we are huge fans.
How many seasons now? Like 32, right, for Dateline?
Yeah, I mean, I've been here 30 years, and I wasn't here at the beginning. Actually, I've been here, February will be 30 years for me. Wow. So I'm coming up on that. And Dateline have been on a couple of seasons before that. I think 32, 33, something like that.
The thing about Dateline, and Barnes, you know this, because Barnes and I love true crime. You guys were the OGs before anybody else.
I know.
Now it's like the number 1 genre ever.
I will say this. I worked at Dateline for 10 years before we started doing crime. And we were just kind of like, we were sort of like the faster moving 60 Minutes.
Yes.
We did 4 or 5 different stories in an hour, and it was everything from investigative to profiles of people. We did stories about parenting your kids and how commercials are made and just the nutty things. And we had one where we had a chimp who picked stocks opposed as against a stockbroker. This was back when the stock market was super hot. And the chimp was like actually ahead at one point, as I recall. So we did all kinds of different stories, some funny, some very serious. And then around 2005, we started making the turn to crime. And I thought, when you start in journalism, usually you're on the cop beat. That's like one of the things you do in your first couple of years. I'm like, I don't want to do it all these years later. I've been doing it for a while at that point, but I could tell they really wanted to do it, and it was an interesting story, so I went and did it. And then I was like, oh, that was kind of fun. I kind of liked that. That was interesting. And I'm still in touch with the mom from that story, so I guess I was wrong. And this connects with the audience in a way that a lot of other stories don't. Most people are never victims of violent crime during their lifetimes. I mean, let's make that clear. Most people are not, but everybody has been in a relationship that did not work out the way that you wanted it to. And this is what happens. Dateline is about those relationships and the choices people make.
As a super fan, you have so many flavors of Dateline. I would watch Dateline, we didn't catch anyone yet, but we're just going to tell you the story again. I would watch that.
Right. We have that, I think. I think
you may have that. It's like, do it again. But in the summer, for me and all the super fans, can you guys give us some crime in the summer? Please, that's not a rerun.
Normally, we don't take the summer off. Normally, the summer is a very, very busy time for us, and we're on all the time. Last summer of 2023, we were on all through the summer. I mean, the TV season starts in like September or October, but that's just technically, that's just where they measure the ratings from and then stop the next year at that time. That never really meant much to us because we never sort of took a break. We were on all the time. This summer, we are not on right now because of the Olympics and the Olympic trials, and I think the Paralympics is afterwards.
Jones in for Dateline.
I know. Well, I got a podcast series coming up. I get it. It's a tough time in the crime business right now because we're working on stuff. We're just not on the air right now, but we're working for the fall.
Sometimes I will watch, a series or an episode and have nightmares, quite frankly. But has there ever been one that's haunted you?
I fortunately do not get nightmares about these, or if I do, I don't remember them. There are stories that I repeatedly think of. I did a story a couple of years ago in which a friend of mine had been murdered, a guy that I knew.
Oh, wow.
I went to Phoenix to go to his funeral, and then I don't know, like 14 days later, we were doing a Dateline
that has
story
to be
on it.
tough.
And that I was not expecting. And then there are a couple of them that have only run once or twice because they were such terrible crimes. I mean, a couple spring to mind right away. But, look, these are the kind of things that give you nightmares. I'm always surprised when people come up to me in, airports or wherever and say, I was watching your story and I fell asleep. I'm thinking like, that's not a good way to go to sleep. But people doze off to Dateline, both in podcast form and on one of the many rebroadcasts that's out there in a lot of different places.
I try to use it as a lesson. I try to get my daughters, who are now 19 and 22, to watch Dateline and tell them this happens. There's no better way to be prepared than to know that this stuff happens. Pay attention to it, and what would you do?
And keep your eyes open. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cautionary tale, and sometimes it's a teachable moment of what not to do. Usually, it's the person who's the perpetrator who needed the teaching, not the victims. But it's definitely it's an astonishing and never-ending series of reports on the decisions that people make, and they're inevitably making the wrong one. Like, you have the choice of, well, I'm going to get divorced because this relationship isn't working out anymore. And then they think, no, instead of that, I'm going to kill you. And then I'll have all the money, and also I'll feel a lot of sympathy coming from other people, and that's what I want. It is an astonishing decision for people. Frequently, it involves the parent of their children. People think, oh yeah, my kids will be fine if I take their other parent away. I am at a loss to explain it, but it is undeniably there, and it's there all the time.
Josh, when you are not working on Dateline, filming Dateline, or working on your podcast, what are you watching? Are you watching true crime, or you watching The Bear? Like, what are you watching?
Yes. The Bear, sure. I mean, I'm watching a lot of British true crime. Or actually, I'm watching a lot of British crime shows. Some of them are true crime and some of them are not. And I'm reading. But mostly lately, I'm just jamming away on our podcast series, which
you're a busy man.
Has taken a lot of time. I am a busy man.
Who are some celebrity super fans that you know about? Anyone that's come up to you, you've been surprised that they're just massive?
Taylor Swift. Who I've never met, but who talked about Dateline as the inspiration for one of her songs recently.
Really?
In her latest album, she was talking about how she sees on Dateline, people go to Florida to reinvent themselves. I was like, how about that? I mean, a lot of people are Dateline fans. Look, you come home at the end of the day. You got a little while to go before you go to bed. You turn on the TV. We're going to be on there somewhere.
And you are hooked.
And we're going to be on with a story that will hook you.
I can spool me off some Dateline episodes. All right, if you would like to talk to Josh, 470-741-4999. Josh Mankiewicz is here from Dateline. Of course, you can see Dateline on Friday nights, 9/8 Central, Saturdays, 10/9 Central. It airs across NBC cable and broadcast. I find it everywhere, and of course, Josh's podcast, Missing in America, Dateline Missing in America. So if you want to talk to Josh, call us now, 470-741-4999. This is 99X.